Play different.
Greetings, smart and attractive people of the internet. In this video, we're looking at Agent Cutie Pie, an unreleased platformer from Monkey Farm Software, which was primarily John Butler. Despite being unreleased, it's a pretty complete product, though it has some very rough edges, which I'll discuss later. It starts with a short introduction that reveals that a monkey civilization has been attacked, and the monkey chief's child, Bobo, has been monkey-napped. You, some sort of round creature known as Agent Cutie Pie, are sent off to TV World and must rescue Bobo. You can mostly ignore the story though, as really the game is just a collection of unrelated platform challenges. These challenges are accessible from a hub world, where new areas unlock as levels are completed. Though Agent Cutie Pie is filled with the quirky humour found in Monkey Farm's previous releases, as a game is much more restrained and cohesive, especially compared to the variety-packed Bob the Fish. The core of the game, like most platformers, is to run and jump around. Agent Cutie Pie has no weapons, but can hop on most enemies. Hop on them enough, and they will eventually explode into collectible bananas, which can be fed to a gigantic ape with impressive nipples at the end of each level for extra lives. Collecting bananas will also increase your health. Cutie Pie also has an umbrella, which slows down their fall and allows them to glide over large gaps. Most levels simply involve getting to an exit, but of course, it's getting there that's the interesting part. The game uses a wide variety of mechanics, such as switches, keys, teleports, air vents, and of course, platforms and a variety of enemies, in ways that make each level feel unique despite the simple core. Cutie Pie also feels good to control, and most of the levels are quite enjoyable. But then we get to the problems. First, I'll talk about some of the issues which seem to stem from this game being unfinished. For one, the audio seems a bit glitchy, especially the music which keeps stopping and restarting when moving around screens. Second, there appears to be some sort of memory leak, where the game will start to slow down and all the sprites, including your own, will stop registering collisions and fall through platforms. This hasn't occurred every time I've played, however. The biggest problem for me is that the collision detection seems a bit off, specifically when you're hopping on enemies to destroy them. You'll sometimes register as being hit and take damage when it should only be you doing the damage. This isn't too much of an issue most of the time, since you have a lot of health, and collecting bananas from defeated enemies will increase it, but it can be a big problem on the tougher levels where you must manage your health more carefully. I also haven't been able to play through the entire game, as one of the end of level triggers seems to be broken, making it impossible to finish. Of course, we have to remember this originally wasn't supposed to be released publicly, so I'm still grateful that Butler decided to share it and to be able to play the game despite the issues. But even without these pre-release problems, the game has faults with some of its level design. As mentioned in previous Monkey Farm videos, Butler liked to have a lot of randomness in his games because it made them more fun to test and play himself. But as with some of his other games, this makes some levels feel incredibly tedious and too luck reliant, mainly due to the unpredictable enemy behaviour and attacks. Now, far from all the levels suffer from this problem, but there are enough to make me feel that they hold the game back as a whole. Still, though I don't think it's a game that would have been considered a classic without quite a bit more work, it's still a mostly fun romp, and it's a shame that it wasn't polished up and given a proper release. So why wasn't it released? Well, it's because Butler entered high school. You see, previous to this his mother was in a wheelchair, so he was kept home for 3 years to help take care of her. In fact, she's the one who gave him the name Monkey Farm Software, so we can see that quirky humour runs in the family. He still had a lot of free time despite taking care of his mum, which is how he made all these games in his younger years. Luckily, his mother was eventually able to recover and he was forced to go back to school. He was against it at first, but ended up loving high school, even if he no longer had the same free time to make games. Agent Cutie Pie was actually pretty close to what the final game was intended to be, though he was still going back and forth between an umbrella and a gun for the character. Personally, I think a gun would have made it more playable. Ultimately, it didn't get released because he felt it needed many more levels, and he simply didn't have the time anymore. And that's the story of Agent Cutie Pie, an unreleased platformer from Monkey Farm Software.